Hi friends, Joe here. This is episode number 198 of the Dekahedron RPG podcast, only two away from episode 200. I am stoked. So today it's just a feedback episode, and we're going to address all the feedback that we got when I was doing how to set up a Sandbox campaign. And next episode is going to be a feedback episode for all the feedback I got from the Tunnels and Trolls A New Era, or whatever they call it, episode. So let's get into it. Let's start with the first episode. And the first feedback I got was from Riley. Riley is the host of the Diegetic Advancement podcast. It's kind of on a little hiatus right now, though he did have an episode a few weeks ago, but then nothing again. But that's fine. I've always felt that podcasting and blogging, the best way to go about them is when you feel motivated, inspired, go ahead and make the episode. And if you're not feeling it, if you don't have the time, don't. We've been so conditioned by, algorithms to say, you have to produce every week or your listeners aren't going to appreciate it. And I think that's BS. Riley, love your stuff. This is what Riley had to say.
Hey Joe, Riley here. Just wanted to call in and say that I really enjoyed your latest episode and I'm looking forward to future installments. The kind of methodology you set forward is interesting. I quite like it. I might have to take it for a spin myself. But the actual example that you came up with is, I think, great. Really, really evocative. I can see the small town of longhouses on a misty hill or by a creek or stream. Smoke coming out of the tops, and the smell of the smoke, and animals, children playing. But it's also quite primed for adventure with the sort of social structure that you've set up. Not even talking about the fact that the town is kind of fought over by these two potentially rival kings. Just inside, you've got the five families, right, and their leaders. I can see there's quite a lot of possibility for shenanigans. So, really enjoying it, and looking forward to the next one. Bye for now.
Hey, Riley, thanks for that. So, I think the key is to go with what you know, right? I stole liberally from history there, right? It's inspired by Icelandic history, and it's inspired by the history of Great Britain, specifically during the Danish invasions and the tension between the Danes and the Saxons and all that fun stuff. So I just stole that and reskinned it a little bit to working fantasy. And if you're watching this or listening to this and you're saying, hey, Joe, but I'm not a history geek like you are, that's fine. I mean, you're in the hobby. There's something you like, right? There's a series of books you like. There's a book you like. There's a TV show you like. There is something out there that you like. Steal it, peel it back to its essence, and add your own creativity on top of that. It's not hard at all. The other thing you said is that you could picture this. First of all, you're bragging because you don't have aphantasia like I do. I can't see anything. But you said by a little stream or brook, and it's by a fjord. And a fjord is like a great inlet of sea. But there's usually at the base of a mountain, and there's a mountain on the other side of the fjord. That's what makes it a fjord, because otherwise it would just be the mountainous coast with a deep channel, maybe, a mile wide to the other side of ocean. It's kind of the opposite of a peninsula, and it's called Elmsfjord or Elmsfjord, and that's why. It's because this is the type of thing it is. But yeah, thanks for that comment. Next, we're going to dive into some comments that I got on YouTube. I'm going to be putting on my glasses for this so I can read them. All right. I got a comment from someone named James. Says, sounds like fun. Thanks, James. It was fun for me. I think it would be wonderfully fun to play. I almost want to run it now, right? Yeah. Hey, anyway, thanks for that comment, James. Next comment. Next comment comes from someone with a screen name of Moopirug. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And he says that Almsfjordur sounds very cool. And he spelt it very correctly and everything. And I'm wondering if, I'm assuming it's a he, it might be a she. I'm wondering if they are Icelandic. And that's why they know it. If so, you have a beautiful country. I spent a couple weeks there last summer, and it was wonderful. I tried to do the whole ring road, and Thor had other plans on a Thursday, right? Thursday. There was this huge thunderstorm, and it washed out the ring road between the East Fjords heading down south towards Lake Katla. And so I never got to finish that little bit. I ended up having to backtrack and do the north and west again. And that made me sad because there's that area I was really looking forward to Katla. What are you going to do? Anyway, thanks for the comment. The next episode in the series, episode number 2 of the series, I talked about, some little changes. I made it a Trelleborg type fort and stuff like that. One comment, one of the things I asked was, how many of these questions should I do every day? And I got a comment from Jason that said a couple questions a week. No, a couple episodes a week seems good. I ended up not doing that. I ended up doing a couple questions per episode and still an episode every week. And that's how I ended up handling it. That's what worked for me. See my comments in the beginning about, how you have to make a podcast work for you. The next comment I got was from someone named Thomas Webb. And Thomas said, since you're involving several longhouses, don't forget that you can use part for livestock sheltering as well, like incorporated barn. There's proof that animals were frequently housed on the ground floor below the household, so keeping them at an opposite end isn't far-fetched either. Hey, Thomas, thanks a lot for that comment. First of all, you said levels, and longhouses don't have levels historically, right? It's long, it's not tall. So it doesn't work that way. Secondly, I'm basing this on my trip to Iceland, where I went to Erikstarthur, which is the historic home of Eric the Red, and Leif Erikson was born there and stuff. And their longhouse did not have animals. They had, Icelandic sheep, you actually don't have to shelter them for a winter. They are so hardy that they could go out and they would just live, which kind of makes sense because, they were they were natural animals long before man came along. Actually, is sheep a man-made animal? Cows are. Did you know that? Chickens are. I don't know about sheep, though. But anyway, Icelandic sheep, their coat just gets bigger and keeps them warmer. So they don't need sheltering like that. Cows do. But another trip a few years ago, I went to Ireland, and in the south of Ireland is this place called the Kerry Bog Museum. I guess it's near Kerry, Ireland, right? And they took an old, 19th century village and kind of transported it there. And one of the things, though, is that, the family would keep the cows in the house with them. And remember, this isn't like modern dairy farming or meat farming where you have 100 head of cattle or whatever, right? The family had its cow, right? Maybe one, maybe two. Think of Jack and the Beanstalk, right? Jack's ma has one cow, and so it's like that. And the cows would be in the same house. It wasn't a separate barn. It was, this room is our room, and the cows are right there. And it wasn't even like they're in the next room. It's the same room. It was just divided by a railing. And if you think how pleasant that must have been, but you got to do what you got to do. And it just reminds you how rich and spoiled we are in the modern day. But yeah, that was a great idea. If I were doing slightly different inspirations, I would definitely use that. Thanks a lot for that comment. All right, so that was it for part 2 of the series. For part 3, I didn't get any feedback. For part 4, I did get this one comment from Andy Salter. What Americans call 15-minute cities, we just call cities or towns here in Europe, because most towns and cities originally started as villages and slowly grew, and over time they would grow bigger and merge with other close-by villages. Hey, thanks for that, Andy. So I'm not actually familiar with that term 15-minute city, so not entirely sure what you mean by that. Also, America is a big place, and in the middle and out west, a lot of those cities were planned and laid out. But in the east, where I grew up and stuff like that, the cities are exactly that. They were set up in the 1500s and the 1600s, and they just sort of grew organically. In Providence, in Rhode Island, like one of the streets is called Weybosset, because that is the way that they would take the cows on the way to market and stuff like that. And it's not that grid pattern. It's a very twisty, windy type thing, going around the local rivers and hills and stuff like that. Boston was the same way. Of course, these days, I think, but then again, go down to London. London's very gritty. So, but yeah, as you could tell by my previous comments, I've spent time in Europe. I've already talked about Iceland. I've talked about Ireland. I lived in the UK for 3 years. I lived in a tiny little village in the Midlands, and kind of between Brackley and Banbury, other way around actually, if you know where they are. Brackley, most people haven't heard of. Banbury, yeah, everybody knows the nursery rhyme about Banbury Cross. So anyway, yeah, that's where I lived. Spain, I did the Community de Santiago. So I actually started in France, but I walked 500 miles across Spain, so I know Spain. I spent some time in Brussels, but that's a modern city too. That's all gridded and stuff. I've been ever so briefly in Germany, but I don't count that. Yeah, but I love Europe. But yeah, thanks for that comment. There was someone who replied to him called Dynamic World. Dynamic Worlds 1. And Dynamic Worlds 1 said, yeah, it's a shame that so many things in the U.S. are such an uphill battle just to even try and get close to what is taken as a given in Europe. I don't know what to say for that. The grass is always greener. Everything has its pluses and minuses. You've heard the list of places, right? What I found in life generally is that people are people, places are places. Nothing is clearly better than anything else. Like I said, pluses and minuses. Yeah, it's life. Episode number 5 of the series was about power centers, right? I talked about who's the most powerful warrior and who's the most powerful wizard and stuff like that. And I got a comment from someone named James that looks like the same James that commented on episode number 1. He said, not bad, man. I'd like to hear more about it. Well, if you've been listening to the series, you have been hearing more about it. Thank you very much for your comment. In episode 7 of the series, I just called it The Rest, and I realized that I'd been going on about a bit of a ramble, going into far too much detail, when the point of the episode wasn't to say, hey, here's this cool setting. The point of the episode is to say how I make this type of campaign. And so I just wrapped up the whole bunch. James who's started the podcast with me and has been a guest host every so often. He's going to be a guest host on episode number 200. He said that he wanted me to go back in detail. He wanted all that stuff. He loves that background world stuff. I just didn't do it because that wasn't the point of the series. I'm not sure that that's what y'all wanted to hear. If you agree with James, send feedback. I will do the other questions in more detail. I also got a YouTube comment from Craig Chambers, and Craig said, there's an event called the Hexy Hood, which still takes place annually in South Yorkshire. The village was originally a Viking settlement and could inform your gladiator response. Lots of videos on YouTube. Thanks for that, Craig. Yeah, that was a great suggestion, right? And as soon as you said that, other things came flooding to my mind, like the Highland Games and stuff, which of course would make my wife happy. And stuff like that. I even came up with some other ones. Yeah, but that was a great comment. You triggered a lot of great thoughts there, and I thank you for it. If y'all want to hear more about stuff like this, let me know, and I will tell you. Whoops. So I have some comments from Martin, and I'm just going to go through them relatively quick. Martin is a listener to the audio feed of the podcast, and he leaves comments on Spotify. And I forgot, I was only looking at the YouTube feed when I was doing this. But I don't want Martin to feel left out because he takes the time to comment, and I super duper appreciate it. And I consider him one of my biggest fans. Anyway, Martin said, yay, a new episode. Happy New Year. The 20 questions sound interesting. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Since you asked for a format preference, I think an episode with 2 to 3 questions rather than 1 question per episode, though it's not a hill I'd die on. Well, Martin, you got your wish, because that's what I ended up doing. And thanks for the Happy New Year wishes, although it's April now. I guess I'm a little slow, although I did respond to you on Spotify. And yeah, I hope you've been enjoying the ride. The other thing for episode 7, part 7, Martin said, I love this episode, very evocative world building. Particularly, I love the idea of a role-playing requirement for healing. Are you penitent enough to be deserving this healing? Yeah, these are role-playing games, right? I think it should all go to role-playing, right? You fall back to the dice when it's not something you can role-play. Yeah, I know that's me. I've said it before. If you look at the GNS triangle, as I call it, I'm going to do an episode about that someday. I'm definitely on the narrativist side of things. People who are gamist, they would probably hate that. People who are simulationists, they would probably like it. You know, yeah, it's the type of thing I love to do at my table. But anyway, thanks for the comment, Martin. Sounds like you and I are on the same page. Sounds like we would have fun at the table together. Martin also said in another comment, he said, can't go wrong with a good mead hall. And that is so true. And yet you almost never see them in a campaign. You see taverns and pubs and bars and all that stuff. You meet at a tavern. When you have a good mead hall that's run by the king or the chieftain of the village or whatever, that's why I put it in there, because they're neglected. And I wanted to see one happening. Thanks for the comment, Martin. All right, to close it out, we have one more comment from Riley, another voicemail, so I'm going to play that. Take it away, Riley.
Hey Joe, Riley here, just calling in after listening to your latest How to Build a Sandbox episode. I know that I've called in once before and I can't remember what I said, so hopefully I don't repeat myself. But yeah, I think the setting continues to be a really interesting place and something that I can really picture myself adventuring in and playing in. So very cool. I think the 20 questions or however many it is from Jeff is really great. Not much more to say on that, but keep it up. Looking forward to the rest of the episodes in the series. I do wonder. I've been thinking a lot about player advice and how to build player characters, and this is definitely for an adventure gaming point of view. But I wonder if there's a similar set, probably much smaller set of questions that a player could ask. I'm kind of not all for the whole lethality. Don't bother naming your character. Yes, characters die and whatever, but I don't think it is necessarily that bad. But having characters with the right goals and personality to fit the game is certainly important. And so I wonder what a list of questions like that would look like.
Hey, Riley, I'm going to cut you off right there because the rest of your comment is about the Tunnels and Trolls review, and I'm going to save that for next episode. But yeah, thanks for your comments. I'm a little confused what you might be saying, and I don't think that's because you said anything poorly. I think I just tend to overthink things. And for like any given sentence, I'm like, well, I could parse it that way. I could parse it that way. And so you're talking about questions for the players, but then you also talked about lethality and stuff like that. So in addition to the 20 quick questions about the campaign setting, inspired by that, the author of neopraxis.com, another blog, did 20 quick questions about the rules. I'll put a link in the show notes saying, I don't know, maybe that's what you want from a more game-based point of view. Or if you're thinking 20 quick questions about your character, I've seen lists like that, not 20, I think it's usually 5, like who are your parents, stuff like that, to help characters, to help players make their characters. So I don't know if you're talking about something like that, but that'd be cool. But then you talk about player goals, character goals, and everything matching the campaign. And I think that's like a really big session 0 discussion, right? And you come in, you lay out the campaign setting. This campaign world is going to be a sandbox campaign. There's going to be no big quests or goals. It's all going to be player driven. You have the map to explore. There's these 2 kingdoms. There will be an exciting event to get your feet wet, to get you into the world. But what you do after that is all up to you. These are the 2 main cultures. Pick the one you want, and then be prepared to answer any questions that they have. In an ideal world, I would love to throw these answers on a wiki. Campaign wiki, I use that all the time, and let them read it, but they never do. So it's a session 0 thing. I hope I answered what you were getting at there. If not, let me know. And thanks for that. And that's all the feedback I had for all the how to create the campaign sandbox campaign, and wherein I created Atmosphere. It's a really neat campaign. I like it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching and or listening. And until next time, happy gaming, happy life. Bye. Are you still here? I used to do, I don't need these now. I used to do updates and thoughts and stuff. I used to open my podcast with them. Pretty much my podcast follows my zine format. In my zines, I always start with I start with the title and introduction, zine title by me. Yeah. And that's pretty much how I open the show, right? I say, hi friends, this is Joe, and you're watching the Dekahedron RPG podcast, right? It's almost that. And then in my zine, I always go into a little, I call it natter, biographical natter. Just what's been happening in my life since then. I used to do that in the podcast, and I stopped doing that. And the reason I stopped doing that is because of YouTube. And YouTube audiences are not like podcast audiences. Podcast audiences, they subscribe to you, they listen to you every week, and the relationship you form with them is more personal, in my opinion. Whereas people who click on YouTube video, if you're not in that topic in 15 seconds, they click away. And I've been letting YouTube drive the podcast far too much. And that's going to stop. Actually, I was going to wait for 200 for it. I have to, like I said in the beginning, when I talked about Riley's podcast being on hiatus, and you got to do what's right for you, I need to do what's right for me, right? And if nobody wants to watch on YouTube, then no one will watch it. And I will just stop making the videos, and I'll start recording audio only, which will be so much quicker. This is an inside episode, so setup is more involved for an inside episode than an outside episode. I got a light there, I got a light there, I have my camera right there. I have this microphone. Sorry, you probably just heard that. I have a microphone right here, which is different than the one I use outside, because this one connects to the camera, and I use a different camera. When I'm outside, I have this little camera, put it pretty much on a selfie stick with a tripod base, and I just walk somewhere and I set it up. I'm done. That's because I live in a dark cave. The setup's more involved. Anyway, although this is a better camera. Anyway, you don't care about all that. So yeah, as we move towards episode 200, the podcast is going to be more like it used to be. And I hope you don't mind. I like to talk about my life, and I'm not going to be so worried about gaming. Maybe make it more general fandom, science fiction, fantasy stuff, but still with a gaming focus. I don't know. I'm not. Like I just said to Riley, I think I tend to overthink things. And I want this just to be a place where I can talk to you, my friends, about geeky stuff that we love. We love gaming. We love science fiction. We love fantasy. Science fiction. Have you seen Pluribus? It's on Apple TV. It is a freaking good show. See, I never get to say that anymore. It's in my zine. If you're in the app, you already know how. It's a great show. Go watch Pluribus. If you don't have Apple TV, get the free trial and watch Pluribus. It's great, and it falls under science fiction. It's wonderful. Anyway, I don't know. This was all a big. This is like bonus content, right, at the end of the episode, and. Again, on YouTube, this would still hurt because they'll say, hey, everyone stopped watching. I don't care about the algorithm. I really don't. And I'm going to say this next week, so maybe I shouldn't bother saying it here, but I'm going to say it anyway. The episode I did on the Tunnels and Trolls game is my most watched episode on YouTube, by far, by orders of magnitude. And it was a very negative episode. So if I wanted, I guess I know the secret to YouTube success now, be negative. And I don't want to do that. I was negative on that because that game rubbed me the wrong way. I had a negative reaction to it, but it's unusual. So anyway, I'm going to wrap things up for real now. Thanks for staying on for this little bonus content. And the part of I say at the end of every episode, I was inspired a little bit by Jason of the Nerds RPG Variety Cast, which isn't in production anymore, but it's a great podcast. It's like 800 episodes in the backlog if you want to listen to it. But he ended every episode with be excellent to each other, which I thought was cool. But I wanted something gaming related, and I kept trying to come up with things. And I was like, well, what's the essence of what I want to say? I want them to have happy gaming. But more importantly, I want their life to be happy. It's like, so how can I say happy gaming, happy life? And I was like, why do I need to say it at all any differently than that? And I say that because I really mean it. So if you game the way I do, if you game some completely other way, if the new Tunnels and Trolls is exactly the way you game, I'm happy for you. Really enjoy it. Be happy. Have a happy gaming experience. Have a happy life. See you next time.